Guys, Stadia is doing some awesome things. We have 6 new pro games just announced. 5 new games also were announced recently. We have an insane amount of new demos that are launched or have launched on Stadia, and also some really weird things going on with Nvidia and Stadia. My goodness, we have a lot to cover, like a crap ton to cover in this video. Thumbs up if you can, and let's get straight into it. So today, Stadia has announced 6 new pro games for July. They're looking very decent, starting with the game that I'm seriously considering streaming on this channel, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. This released late last December. It has been an absolute hit. You play as Gregory, who trapped overnight at the Mega Pixaplex. Of course, the game's full of secrets. You're trying to escape and survive. The game is chock full of jump scares that pretty much the franchise is known for. Very excited for this one. It comes with over 35,000 very positive reviews since it released, so really all around good stuff with this game. Then we have Centipede Recharge, and this is one of the first games from Atari. We'll take a look at more of their games in the next segment, but this is based on the classic, only reimagined in a more modern take. It has 30 unique challenges in endless arcade mode, and you can play locally with a buddy. Then we have Those Who Remain, another jump scare psychological horror title. This game's all about surviving, solving mysteries, and of course the hard gameplay loop of keeping your sanity in check by staying within light sources. This has been a very well-liked game since it released, and I think it's a good addition to Stadia Pro. Worms WMD's our next game, a destructive strategy title based on the old school Worms formula, but also reimagined with more modern visuals. I haven't played this one yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. Then we have Fast and the Furious Spy Racers Rise of the Shifter. This is pretty much a full-on racing title. It has little gadgets and things that you can shoot off, fire off, and use speed boost. This isn't going to be an extremely high-quality racing game, but it's solid. And then finally, a game that I think no one saw coming in a Rogue book. This is a roguelike deck builder. I'm kind of surprised personally because I've never heard of this game, but here you build teams of 2 heroes with each hero having about 50 cards each. You build your deck that'll suit your strategy, of course. The cool thing about this game is there's a map that you'll kind of explore through. It's based on a book. Every time you enter this book, it's going to be different, so it's procedurally generated. And obviously going through the game, guys, you'll be pretty much just fighting off things with your heroes. You'll be building your deck. You'll be finding merchants and ruins. You'll be taking on quests. I think this looks like a pretty deep game. It's meant for multiple playthroughs, but on average, it says it takes about 20 hours to beat the game, but it's got hundreds of hours that you'll need to unlock all the things the game has to offer. But overall, I think this is a great addition, and I'd say overall this has been a pretty solid July for Stadia. It has a nice wide variety of games. I would like to see a very big AAA game every single month. I do think Stadia needs to look to potentially add some of the older titles to Stadia library, even if it's just not something new, but something big every single month. I know we'd all like to see maybe something like a Red Dead Redemption or something along those lines that really just kind of grabs attention and makes maybe even headlines. So we'll see with that, and yeah, overall good stuff. Staying on the games front with Stadia, they announced that we are getting 5 new Atari games. This is a new publisher to Stadia, and like I talked about earlier, Centipede Recharge is coming, but there's also 4 more titles on top of that. We have Black Widow Recharge. This is a classic that I admit I'm not familiar with, but I'm liking the visuals on this game, and this also has 30 unique challenges and an endless arcade mode. Then we have Asteroids Recharge. Now, this is a game I'm certainly familiar with, bringing in that classic space shooter and the little mouse pointer ship gameplay. Love it. Then we have a Breakout Recharge, and this might be the one I'm looking forward to the most out of these classics. The gameplay on this is always super fun. This one has 50 challenges. And then finally, we have a game called, and maybe I'm butchering the name here, Combinera, a game that has you controlling multiple color balls and combining those balls to complete the levels. So a full-on puzzle game. This title is published by Atari as well. I do want to say that more than likely these games, when they do launch on Stadia, the classic ones I should say, are going to be on the cheaper side. I'm guessing around $5. That's what they're priced at on other platforms, with Combinera potentially launching at around $15. These games are all slated to come soon, with Centipede launching on Stadia Pro for July. So if you guys are a fan of these classic games, I think you have some stuff here to look forward to. All right, guys, let's continue sticking to the game news. We have a lot of news on this front. Stadia has announced 48 insane and new demos coming out, and this is on the heels of another set of demos that had launched recently and are already see on the platform. If someone in the comments can actually count up all these demos, I'd appreciate it. I think we're looking at like 70 plus demos overall. Again, this is really key to market Stadia, but also key for the publishers and developers to market their own game as well. And this is something that, in my opinion, isn't a light news, because I know most of us have been there and done that with a lot of these games on Stadia. But I mean, I think this is really awesome news to be able to access so many games at just a click of a button. You can play these demos and play the full games for a limited amount of time and figure out if you're going to buy them or experience them on Stadia Pro. But the key thing about all these demos is how I think attractive this is for new players and new people to not only get into Stadia, but even in cloud gaming, if these developers and these publishers market really well to their own websites and their own social media. And you don't even need to necessarily say it's Stadia. Just say, hey, play, launch, click a button and enjoy our game. And then from there on out, they can make the decision if they want to buy it on Stadia or not. But I think this is really awesome to see these demos really ramp up on Stadia and become so big now. With that, guys, we have some games that have launched to the platform. In case you missed it, Zorro here launched some time ago, launched pretty stealthy. We also have the most anticipated title we've all been waiting for on Stadia this 2022 in My Little Pony. But in all seriousness, I'm kind of bummed this didn't drop on Stadia Pro. This would have actually been a really big hit with my niece, and I'm probably now gonna have to buy this thing, dang it. So dang it, that really does suck. Then we have Figment 2 Creed Valley. This is a top-down puzzler. I think this game is pretty much going to drop any day now. And our next game that I'm very much looking forward to, and I love that we're adding more games to the Stadia party list in Rabid Party of Legends. This comes on June 30th for Stadia. This has 50 mini games, and of course, being able to play locally with multiple people. I do want to state that this is a Ubisoft published game. There was a little bit of a question because Rollerblades Champion hasn't launched on Stadia yet, and we're starting to maybe get questions if Stadia is going to start seeing the game delay launches from Ubisoft and we're maybe not getting them day and date. But here we go with this game here, Rabid Party of Legends, pretty much launching on Stadia alongside all the other platforms day and day. So good stuff there. Finally, last thing that I want to mention on the games here is we have Skull and Bones was rated for Stadia. I've talked a lot about this game recently. It's looking really good, and it has really kind of jumped on my list, my top list, as one of my more anticipated titles on any platform. And to see it on Stadia is really happy, really good to see, and I'm glad to see that we're getting progress for the Stadia release, and we'll see it at some point. But this is certainly info. I'll keep you guys up to date as it continuously progresses. One last piece of news, guys, is something that does go over my head slightly trying to explain this stuff, and really it's not something I'm super knowledgeable in, but I'll try my best to explain what I think this is all about. Stadia has added Nvidia driver support with their Stadia Linux kernel build, and at one point in this line it said something along the lines of instances that use a Nvidia GPU. So imaginations are certainly going to run wild with this a little bit, because some might take this as Stadia might be using Nvidia GPUs to run Stadia. So maybe Stadia might actually be upgrading the platform using Nvidia hardware. At least that's where maybe some of our imaginations can certainly run wild. And then you think about potentially a Stadia 2.0, and honestly, none of us really know what this exactly means. It could mean that Stadia is starting to back away from AMD and looking to upgrade and go the Nvidia route, or simply just add a separate and different layer of support for Stadia hardware or Stadia games. I also know that Stadia and Nvidia have been working together on something to do with XR streaming, so this could also just be more future development in that regard. But I mean, guys, there's really a lot of ways this can actually go. I know, honestly, we can speculate to the moon, but personally, I don't want to get my hopes up on this news and think that maybe Stadia is going to be upgrading to Stadia 2.0 using the latest Nvidia hardware or anything along those lines. So we have to wait until we hear more official announcements going forward. And even if this results in any time soon, we might not hear about anything like this for a long time in regards to a very formal and big partnership in regards to upgrading Stadia, if that's, again, even a thing. But it would be cool to see Stadia going, all right, let's upgrade our hardware, let's step away from this custom AMD hardware and move into using Nvidia and just get the ball rolling. So I think that would absolutely be a dream. But as I said, let's pump the brakes and see where this goes. With that, if you guys want to know every single game coming to Stadia this year, click the video on the top left.